Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're going to tackle something that so many people struggle with, but honestly, it's entirely within your reach. We are talking about mastering English fluency. If you've been studying English for a while and just feel kind of stuck, well, you're in the right place. We're going to break down some incredibly effective strategies that are all about consistent daily practice. My goal is to make these concepts as clear and actionable as possible, so you can literally start transforming how you speak right away. Okay, let's dive into this.
So picture this. Have you ever been listening to someone understanding almost everything they say in English, but the second it's your turn to speak, your mind just suddenly goes completely blank? You know the vocabulary, you understand the grammar perfectly when you read it, but your mouth just flat out refuses to cooperate. It's incredibly frustrating, isn't it? Well, if that sounds familiar, let me assure you, you are definitely not alone. Millions of learners deal with this exact same thing every single day. But here's the really good news. Speaking English fluently, it's not some magical, elusive talent you have to be born with. It is just a skill. And like any skill, you build it through practice.
Which brings us to the first big hurdle, the myth of perfection, and why waiting to be ready is an absolute trap.
See, the biggest mistake a lot of us make is getting stuck in what we call the perfection mindset. We wait until we feel 100% ready to speak. We convince ourselves that we need flawless grammar, this massive dictionary-level vocabulary, and a perfect accent before we even dare to open our mouths. But here's the critical takeaway. Fluency doesn't come from perfection. It actually comes from the repetition mindset. Just think about how little kids learn their very first language. They don't sit around quietly memorizing grammar rules before they try to talk, right? No, they listen, they imitate, they make a ton of hilarious mistakes, and they just keep trying. That raw, fearless repetition is exactly how you're going to master speaking English, too.
Think of fluency as a daily practice. Actually, scratch that. It's exactly like hitting the gym. You wouldn't go to the gym once a month for 10 exhausting hours and expect to suddenly get super strong, right? Of course not. Speaking English daily literally strengthens your brain the exact same way lifting weights strengthens your muscles. By putting in the reps daily, your mouth becomes physically more comfortable producing English sounds. Your ears adapt to the speed of natural speech, and most importantly, your brain starts to think directly in English instead of always lagging behind trying to translate everything. So, let's get into the specifics. Core habits for fluency, the tools to actually train your brain.
Now, the foundation of speaking naturally, surprisingly enough, starts with listening. You have to immerse yourself in natural English repeatedly, podcasts, YouTube videos, audiobooks, whatever you like, before you can effortlessly speak it. But here's the catch. You can't just listen passively while you do the dishes. You need to use an active technique called shadowing. Shadowing means listening to natural speech and repeating it exactly. It's an absolute game changer. It trains your mouth and your ears at the exact same time, making it honestly one of the fastest ways out there to boost your fluency.
Okay, let's break shadowing down into 3 super easy steps that you can start doing today. Step 1, listen to just a single sentence of natural English. Step 2, hit pause. Step 3, repeat it out loud exactly as the speaker said it. And when I say exactly, I really mean it. Try to copy their pronunciation, the rhythm, the pauses, even the emotion they use. Now at first, this is going to feel a bit clumsy or awkward, but if you do it daily, your speech is going to become so much smoother and sound way more natural.
All right, moving on to another incredibly powerful, though maybe slightly funny strategy. Talk to yourself. Seriously, just narrate your day out loud in English. Say really simple things like, I am making breakfast, or, I need to answer some emails, or even just, the weather is really hot today. Talk about your plans, your thoughts, how you're feeling. Why is this so effective? Well, the more you practice expressing those basic ideas out loud to yourself with zero pressure, the easier it's going to be to speak spontaneously when you're suddenly face-to-face in a real conversation.
Now, to get rid of that frustrating delay between having a thought and actually saying the words, you absolutely have to stop translating from your native language. Translating is what slows you down and causes that awkward hesitation we talked about at the start. To fix this, you have to actively train your brain to think directly in English. And you can start really small, like try it right now. Look around whatever room you're sitting in and just name the objects you see in English. Desk, window, coffee cup. Eventually, you build up to thinking through your daily schedule using simple English sentences. Over time, your brain actually gets totally comfortable processing ideas directly in English, and it just bypasses your native language entirely.
Next up, let's talk vocabulary. Having a good vocabulary is crucial, but memorizing those long, boring lists of isolated words, that's not the best way to go. Instead, you want to learn chunks of language within their actual context. Focus on highly useful expressions that you can just drop right into everyday conversations. Things like, how's it going? That sounds great. I'm not sure. Or, what do you mean? By learning these ready-made chunks, you completely avoid the stress of trying to mathematically construct every single sentence from scratch. You just grab the chunk you need and use it. It makes you sound far more natural and a whole lot more confident. And here is a simple but deeply powerful practice, even if it makes you cringe a little at first. Record yourself. Just pick a topic, grab your phone, and speak into it for 1 or 2 minutes. Then, listen back. Notice your pronunciation, catch your own grammar slip-ups, and pay attention to where you hesitate. Doing this builds some really intense self-awareness. And wonderfully, over a few weeks or months, you're actually going to hear your own improvement on these recordings, which is unbelievably motivating. If coming up with a topic is too hard, you can also just read a short article or dialogue out loud, focusing on a clear rhythm. It's a great way to reinforce vocabulary while training those mouth muscles.
So how do we fit all of this into a busy life? Let's look at your daily 30-minute routine, your playbook for fluency.
We've broken this down into a highly manageable 30 minutes a day. First, you spend 10 minutes actively listening to an English podcast or a video. Then, you spend another 10 minutes doing that shadowing technique, pausing and repeating the sentences. Next, take 5 minutes to just speak to yourself, narrating your day out loud. And finally, wrap up with 5 minutes of recording your voice or reading aloud. That is it, the whole shebang in just half an hour. Done consistently, this specific targeted routine can dramatically level up your fluency.
But to make this work, we need to talk about the final piece of the puzzle. Section 4, Mindset for Lasting Success, and why we need to choose consistency over intensity.
Listen, consistency matters so much more than intensity. You do not need to lock yourself in a room and study for 5 grueling hours once a week. In fact, practicing every single day for just 20 or 30 minutes is vastly more effective. Daily repetition is what actually builds your momentum. It creates habits, and those habits are what forge new neural pathways in your brain, leading to real, lasting improvement.
And as you're building this daily habit, you also really need to change your relationship with making mistakes. Mistakes are a completely natural and absolutely necessary part of learning. Do not fear them. Every single mistake is giving you valuable feedback. Heck, native speakers make mistakes all the time. At the end of the day, what actually matters is connection and communication, not perfection. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So get out there and seek out practice. Join an online language exchange, find a local speaking club, or just chat with friends. Real conversations push you to think quickly, and they expose you to all sorts of different accents and speaking styles.
So if you take away nothing else from this explainer today, remember this. Mastering English speaking is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. It's about showing up every single day, even on the days when you're tired or feeling a bit uncertain. It's about listening, repeating, speaking, and yes, learning from your inevitable mistakes. If you can commit to that daily practice, your confidence is absolutely going to grow, your fluency will improve, and speaking English will eventually just feel like a completely natural part of who you are.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. What small step are you going to take today to kickstart your journey to English fluency? Will you listen to a new podcast? Are you going to try shadowing a few sentences? Or maybe you'll just spend 5 minutes talking to yourself while you make dinner tonight. Your journey to fluency starts with just one simple decision. Pick a habit, start it right now, and then, most importantly, keep it going tomorrow. Thanks for watching.